Thank you for coming in. Mindy, this is mostly going to be directed at you because you were the one that pitched Netflix this show way back in 2017, saying that this was going to be the South Asian show. This was going to be the show that we all wanted in regards to representing South Asians in media. And so I'm going to be directing my comments more towards Mindy because Lang Fisher is more so a secondary producer on the show. I don't know either of these two women personally, but they're both big shots in Hollywood, so they must have done something right. Okay, Mindy, here's what I have to say about season 2 of Never Have I Ever and Never Have I Ever in general. I think you have clear strengths in terms of what you do well. And I think one of those strengths that you do really, really well on this show is you're really good at making characters that don't matter. So you're really great at making characters and giving characters intrigue, but in the grand scheme of things, they have nothing to do with the show. I'll give you a couple examples on this season in particular. Mr. K, Manish Kulkarni, Utyarksh Ambekar is my new favorite human being. But besides that point, I'll talk more about Manish later. You made a lot of intrigue out of this guy, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of brown guys out there who were very interested by this character. But you made him basically irrelevant, and all he did was flirt with Devi's cousin Kamala the whole season. You could have made so many things. He's a brown teacher on campus, the only brown teacher. Devi's the one of 2 Indian girls in her class. You could have done so many things with this character, but you left so much to be desired. I hope you use him in season 3. I have a whole backstory written for him, which we'll get into later in my second half of the show. Mindy, I am truly disappointed with the way you use Manish. But the second character that I think you just don't, like, you made just completely useless, but has a lot of intrigue, is Patti, the grandmother. I love the grandmother concept. I think you were on the right track early in the season when you decided to bring the grandmother back from India to America and have her be a part of the show's fabric. I am a huge, huge, huge fan of that. Yes, because that's something that we can all relate to as South Asians, having our grandparents live in our houses for extended periods of time. It happens, right? That's great. I'm a huge fan of that aspect of the show. But you made the grandmother fucking useless, Mindy. What did you do with her? She was just in the show and she would make a couple wisecracks here and there. You could have done so many things with her. But I feel like I barely know who she is besides the fact that she's Devi's dad's mom. She's just kind of there. She seems like a very chill Indian grandmother, if one, right? And she just is a side character, which is fine. That's fine. But you could utilize her and make her into a character where she is so useful. She is, Indian grandmothers are the best, man. You can make her like into like the funniest character with just like, if you just give her lines of Tamil and she's just like talking shit to Devi and Kamala, like that's hilarious. There's so many things you could do between her and Nalini. That dynamic is not explored. The dynamic between Devi and Patti is not explored. The dynamic between Kamala and Patti is not explored. There's so many things you could have done, Mindy, but you did none of them. You left Patti to be and basically just sit around, deliver wisecracks once in a while, and be the character that was, you know, just kind of in the shadows when you could have done so much with her. I really hope you do more with her on season 3. There's so much left to be desired with both Manish and Patti. So that's my first point. You're really good at making characters, but not using them. Use the characters that you have in front of you. Okay. I have a question for you, Mindy. Not you, Lang, because you're white, but Mindy, real quick question here. Do you think genuinely, do you genuinely think that this show represents South Asians well? It's an open-ended question. I personally have no opinion on this. I think it goes back and forth. I think there are examples of how this show represents South Asians well. I think in early season 1, this show had an episode called about Ganesh Chaturthi, which is something that I celebrate as a South Asian, as a South Indian as well. And It was really nicely done. I like to see another holiday on the big screen rather than Diwali all the time, right? Like we're getting where we're talking about different shit. That's important. I'm a fan of that. Good job, Mindy. I will give you your props where you deserve it. But you do that, and then you make this mind-puzzling decision at the beginning of season 1, before you even start the show, that you're going to give the cousin of Davy's mother, and Davy's father, you're going to give all those 3 actors and actresses fake accents? Like, how do you feel about that choice? Okay? You're a South Asian show, right? You live in a highly, highly woke era, right? Where a lot of people would criticize you potentially for making that choice. I'm shocked that more people haven't criticized her for making her actors and actresses do fake accents. I'm shocked that she was allowed to do that and that you were allowed to do that, Mindy. But here's the thing, is like how I feel about the accents is like, I feel like there are so many other actors and actresses who are looking for employment. And for those of you that remember, Never Have I Ever was an open casting call. So it was an open casting call, completely open to everybody. Like you could have been, you could have been like 8, like they were looking for anybody. Like they searched the country for all Indians, for all moms, for all dads to audition for the roles. And yet they couldn't find someone who grew up in India who lives in America right now. My mother tried out for the role of Nalini. My mom would have made a kick-ass Nalini. I think she would have been really, really good. I think there are a lot of aunties that tried out for Nalini, particularly in the Bay Area. I think they would have been fantastic. Mindy, and that's no offense to Poorna, by the way. I think Poorna is a great actress. Poorna is one of the OGs in South Asian Hollywood. I respect the hell out of Poorna. She does a great job in so many different roles. She's done both Bollywood and Hollywood. Nothing against Poorna Jagannathan at all. But I think that you could have picked actors and actresses who maybe who maybe have accents and who maybe have experience with being the Indian mom. Like the Indian mom that isn't first generation. The Indian mom that immigrated here. There are so many people that want that chance, that tried out for that chance and didn't get it. So, Mindy, tell me why. I know that was a little bit of a rant. Why do you feel the need to put fake accents on your actors and actresses? Tell me. It's not that hard, Mindy. Okay? I think that was a choice that could have been changed, and I am not a fan of the choice that you made with that, Mindy, and I'm disappointed, frankly. I don't think you can fix it. I think you have to keep it because it would be weird if Poorna walks in with her normal voice in season 3. If Richa walks in with her normal voice season 3. If Sendhil has his normal voice season 3. I think that's weird. But well, you got to live with some. You lose some. You win some. You lose some. And you really lost that one. And I think you lost a lot of South Asian people with that one. And the last thing I want to talk to you about, Mindy, before I'll send you on your way, because I know you're busy. The lack of culture in season 2. You pitched this show to Netflix. I remember this very clearly as the South Asian show, as the show that was going to be about a South Asian family and about balancing culture and life and romance and all of those things. And that's great that you want romance to be a part of this show. To be honest, I don't really care that I mean, there's a love triangle, sure, whatever. Like that bothered me to some extent because you could prioritize your time with the love triangle and talk about Maitri's life. This goes back to what me and Sachin Kumar were talking about. Shout out Sachin on episode 10 of my podcast, that you like if you would replace a white girl for a majority of those scenes, it turns into All the Boys I've Loved Before, right? Even though that's it's an Asian American lead in All the Boys I Loved Before, you could just replace Davy with some white girl named Melanie, and you're literally looking at the same fucking show, right? It's like, oh, like I'm dating 2 boys at the same time. It's like, holy shit, what's going on? The first 2 episodes of this show, of this season, were a wash, in my opinion, Mindy. You didn't really, the show picks up once Megan comes into the show. And I'm going to talk to Megan after I talk to Maitri. But my point is, I think there was such a lack of culture in this season, even though you claim that this show is for South Asians and there's some relatability. You could have done something with Bhatti. You could have done something with Devi's mother. The India visit was a very disappointing arc, but that I feel like I'm being nitpicky with that one. I think overall, though, there was such a lack of culture here in season 2, and a lack of cultural representation. And it almost felt like you made that season 1 episode about Ganesh Chaturthi to appease the South Asians that were going to watch the first season so that now you could get into the second season, which is the real, meat of your show, and just basically talk about a normal high school teenage show, which is what most of this season felt like. It didn't feel like it was a South Asian show, which is fine. I think that's fine. And I think there was some level of cultural representation, a very baseline level, but I felt like there was more to be desired. And so I would like to see a little bit more of the cultural aspect come in season 3, because it's a big deal for Indian Americans, or not just Indian Americans, but South Asian Americans who are growing up in the States, is the cultural aspect of things. So that's what I'll say. But I mean, other than that, Mindy, like there's a lot of little things that I could pick at with you. I think plot lines, characters, Devi just being incredibly unlikable this season, basically repeating the same mistakes that she repeated in season 1. Like, there's little things, Mindy. And that's my spiel to you, is that there are little things. There's a lot of stuff that I disagree with that you think is somehow television right. But those are little things, and I don't want to bring up little semantics and little plot lines that I had a problem with, even though I have a whole list of them, because that's what I would have done last season. But I'm trying to be more broad. And I'm saying, Mindy, I want you to keep one question in mind when it comes to season 3, and that's the question I asked earlier, is do you feel like this show represents South Asians well? And if it doesn't, and if you answer no, that's fine. Just don't go up to Netflix and don't go to the average consumer that watches your show and be like, we are a show for South Asians. Don't lie to people. Just say we're a normal teen romance with the South Asian character, with South Asian characters. If you say, yes, this show represents South Asians well, then do a little more with the culture. Don't call yourself don't call this show the woke, the woke show with all the South Asians in it and claim you're representing us, when in reality, you're not doing anything. So do something in the next season. Maybe make a couple plot lines here and there. Make those people happy. Make me happy, Mindy. Make me happy.